Are you in a position where you're defined by your age and that's limiting you to pursue a dream or goal you want to accomplish? The More Than Your Age podcast is about having conversations with women who fully live their lives without being dictated or defined by their age. This is a space to encourage women who feel blocked to pursue a dream or goal based on their life circumstances. Welcome to the More Than Your Age podcast. I am your host, Erica Pasbard. Let's start living life fully and become more than your age. Joining the More Than Your Age podcast is the owner of the New York floral and gift boutique, Olive It, Melissa Briscoe. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm excited to talk to you today, Melissa. I've been looking forward to our interview as we were introduced to one another semi-recently. I'm excited to get to know you a little bit better and have you share about your business and the trials that you've had to endure along the way. But I'd also like to just kind of start off by having you talk about your experience in college, how you transferred to 5 different schools, what you were studying, and how did these transitions impact your personal and professional growth?
So I graduated in 2006 and I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. I had picked up a passion for event planning somewhere in high school and planning my Sweet 16 and doing all those fun things. And in 2006, event planning really wasn't like a major like it is now. And I'm more creative than I am book smart. So I went with the most creative, friendly major that I could think of, which was media and communications. I didn't necessarily want to be on TV, on the radio, or anything like that. But I said, hey, let's try it out. So I went to SUNY Old Westbury for a year. It was a great experience. I lived on campus, I got out of my parents' house. It was a great experience, but I knew that that wasn't necessarily where I wanted to be and to, have my college experience. I transferred again to another school in New York, and then again, and then again, and then again, and then again. Long story short, I ended up back at Westbury in 2013, where I finished. I got my BA in art with a major in media and communications.
When you were transferring, what did your family and friends say to you with all the different transfers?
I mean, I was young and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I come from a family of pretty high achievers. So no one really related to me, but they understood that I was young and, was just trying to find my way. I got so much support from my family, and everyone would just, Melissa, maybe being, like I said, high achievers, maybe be a nurse, maybe be a teacher, and I'm also West Indian, so those are the typical career paths for a lot of us. So, I was encouraged to go that route, but that just wasn't. I never really wanted to do either of those things. So my family, they understood, and we went on a wild ride together, transferring left and right and center, and I finally got it done.
I think it's so funny how the expectation when you go to school is like, you're supposed to have it figured out. You got to, like, whatever you're going to study, that's what you're going to be for the rest of your life. And obviously you and I both know that that's not the case. I just wish that, like, I don't know what it is like now starting in college, but I just wish that could be communicated to that generation of, hey, you don't have to have it figured out right now, because none of us do. And people change their careers like a million times, and it's not necessarily what they actually studied.
No, well, not at all.
So after you graduated in 2013, you started working in hospitality, and you'd mentioned that you planned your Sweet 16, so you did events. So what was it about hospitality that piqued your interest?
I don't even know. I was on Craigslist. I don't even know if people still find jobs on Craigslist anymore, but I was on Craigslist. I took the summer off to kind of figure out what I wanted to do and all that stuff. And, well, not figure out what I wanted to do, but find a job. And I saw a hotel on Long Island had recently opened, and they were hiring for a sales assistant. Intern, not even assistant. I was less than I was. My title was smaller than an assistant. I was an intern, a sales intern. So I applied, and I had never worked in hospitality before. And literally, I mean, I had never worked in hospitality. Like, I've never worked in a restaurant, a hotel, anything like that. But I applied because they had some event planning in the description, and I got it. And that started my path and my career in hospitality. I was an intern for about a year and a half, and then I became a sales assistant. And then I was assistant for quite a few years, longer than most people are an assistant. And then I finally became a sales manager.
What just in that in those specific roles, just kind of as you were working your way up, what did you love about it? And then how did you feel like your personality kind of fits into those specific roles and specifically hospitality?
Yeah. Well, for the most part, I really, really loved who I worked with. I mean, of course, we have those bad apples, but for the most part, I loved the people I worked with. Especially being a sales assistant and an intern, you work very one on one with a manager, and they kind of become your best friend. You spend more time with them than you do your own family because you're with them literally 40 hours a week. So it was a lot to do with the people that I worked with. And then again, because being in hospitality and in sales, there was like, not like it is now, but there was like a 20% of doing event planning. So I got to refer vendors and give my little spin on things and go on site tours and do things like that. So that was the part that I really enjoyed.
What were some of the events that you kind of enjoyed the most while you were in that role or in those roles?
Well, I really my interest, not my interest, my passion for hospitality kind of spiked when I got my first hospitality job in the city. Long Island and the city are two different ball games when it comes to hospitality. While I loved working on Long Island, my interest peaked when I was in the city because I was working like New York Bridal Week. The hotel I worked at had a lot of like high end events. And that was just like so intriguing to me. I loved it. And then we did like a lot of media week stuff and a lot of Comic-Con stuff. And that those events, you you have to be so meticulous because if an A-list star comes and the event isn't quite ready, it can go downhill from there. So like just seeing all the little details that can go into an event really, really spiked my interest and made the hospitality like world come to like we just came together very well.
I would imagine like those type of events would add a lot of pressure. What was that something that you experienced or did you really thrive in those type of situations?
I I didn't get that much pressure from it because at that point I was a sales assistant, but I saw the sales managers running around with like chickens with their heads cut off. And those time of year, like I said, for like bridal week and for Comic-Con, even as an assistant, I had to be on my ball game because again, if something wasn't ready and it was Melissa's task and it wasn't done, um, yeah, wouldn't have been good.
Yeah, I bet it wouldn't have. Well,
Mm-hmm.
so you like the creative aspect of hospitality, and eventually at some point you did decide to quit, and you
Mm-hmm.
saw that a florist in town was hiring. So why did you decide to apply there?
I don't know. It was like the week or the week before Valentine's Day. And again, I wasn't working and I needed to make a little money. So I reached out and they said, come on in. And I stayed and I never left for, I guess, 5 years that I was there. Yeah, it was a great experience. It taught me a lot. And my passion for flowers kind of obviously sparked there. I never like I never thought that flowers would be it for me, but it really came alive there.
What was it about working there that flowers kind of came alive for you?
It wasn't necessarily the store itself. It was just being able to have creative control with something that really I loved and I still love today. You know, anyone, not anyone, but a lot of florists can make a dozen rose bouquet, right? But every florist will have her spin or do it her way. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just everyone has their way of doing it, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so you were working part time at the florist shop and trying to figure out what to do. What was this process like in the midst of searching for what you truly wanted to do?
Of course, I think I was maybe 25 or 26. My parents weren't thrilled that I didn't necessarily have a career at that time. Like I said, I had quit my my hotel job on Long Island, and I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. I know, and that backpedal. That's what I meant when you could have a few bad apples, because it's not necessarily the job itself that I did disliked when I quit. It was the environment. And that's why I really try to make the environment and all of it so seamless and like a great fun aspect. Because I don't want anyone to have a poor experience here. Usually I'm here by myself, but during high holidays or weddings and stuff like that, when it's up to like 10 of us here, I make sure it's fun. I make sure no one has a bad attitude, because I don't want anyone to leave here with a poor experience like I left my job. Back to your current question. So yeah, my parents weren't thrilled that I necessarily only had a part-time job, but I made it work, and I was there for. Oh yeah, so after Valentine's Day, I started working with her part-time.
Okay. Now, kind of to go back to the hospitality job that you had, you really enjoyed it at first because the people that you were working with really
Hmm.
impacted that, because that is huge. And then eventually that shifted. How far in were you when it shifted to where the environment was kind of unhealthy for you?
So about 2 years in, like I said, I was promoted from a sales intern to a sales assistant. But with that promotion came a transfer to a new property. And while I liked the property, I did not love someone I was working with. I Mental health wasn't like that big of a thing back then, but I
Yeah.
put myself first and I said, Melissa, you're not happy here. And you know what? Age had a big part of it to do with me, because I had taken so long to graduate college. I was also I was a little older. So I was like, I'm too old to be doing this. I'm too old to be dealing with someone talking to me like this. So peace out. I gotta go. Which might not have been the right thing to do. I don't necessarily always recommend that, but that's what I chose to do.
You know what? But you deserve to be treated appropriately where you're working. I had a semi similar experience. I was abroad in Spain working in hospitality, and the way that I was treated, I was like, I don't deserve this. And so, yeah, I walked out too, because you don't
Yeah.
like that's, you're supposed to
Yeah.
be treated with respect, and no matter what level you are on this podium. And so I'm glad that you take that into what you're doing with your floral shop too when you have seasonal help, because that's huge. I mean,
Hmm.
that's how you get
Yes.
people to stay with you. Well, so
Right.
okay, so you were working part time at the floral shop, and then you also decided to go back into hospitality. So, kind of tell us
Yes.
about that.
Yeah, so at that point, that's when I kind of went back into this. That's when I went to the city, because I just needed to find a job. So I went to the city. I worked at a really premium hotel, and I was there for about a year. The environment there was pretty toxic too. I didn't love it. Like I said, the hospitality world on Long Island versus the city is very different. So I was referred to a lot as just being an admin. And I hate that word with a passion, because someone is always more than an admin. They are a person, they are a sales assistant, they could be whatever they want, but don't just say, oh, give it to the admin. So that's how I was referred to a lot. And I don't like it. And I didn't love the environment, but I learned a lot. So I stayed there for about a year. And again, I was tired of being a sales assistant at this year. It was probably 3 or 4 years that I was doing it. So I started to apply to jobs to become a sales manager. And around that time, when I was applying, I also again, the bug came to me and was like, Melissa, you got to leave. You got to leave. Something's not right. Something's not right. So it worked out that I had given my 2 weeks, but I also had got a new job as a sales manager this time.
Okay. And you got a new job as a sales manager at another hotel?
Another hotel, yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, and then so after that, sometime too, and correct me if I'm wrong, you got promoted to a manager. Was this at the hospitality or at the floral shop too? Did you get promoted to a manager
This
at
was,
the?
oh, I was, no, so sorry. So, yeah, so while I was working at my other job, while I was working in the city, I was also working at the flower shop that I had started at for Valentine's Day. I was working there on the weekends. So yes, I was doing both. So I essentially only had one day off a week, and that was Sundays, because I would work Monday through Friday at the hotel job and then every Saturday at the flower shop.
Okay. And how I remember you telling me that you started doing at the flower shop, you started doing your own orders on the side. How did the owner of
Yes.
the flower shop respond when you mentioned this is what you were doing?
She didn't love it. But, I try to be as straightforward as possible. So she didn't love it, but the entrepreneurial spirit has always been with me. You could ask anyone that I know. I have started my business model has changed 1,000,005 times, just like I have changed 1,000,005 times. But when I landed on flowers, I stuck with flowers. So my company name has always been Olivet, whether it's been personalized gifts, whether it's been baskets, whether it's been event planning, just to name a few things that I have done. It's always been Olivet. So when I told her that I was kind of, family and friends were kind of asking me, can I make some centerpieces for them here and there? I kind of started doing them. And I don't honestly remember how the conversation went, but I just remember that it wasn't like her take of me doing this wasn't great. That I do remember.
Now, when when you did start working on doing things for friends and family, at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
because you have an entrepreneurial spirit, at the same time, were you thinking, you know what? I think I want to actually do this like full time on my own, or what was your thought process at that time?
That thought process never really hit me, honestly, because I never really knew where I would find the money to open a flower shop. I thought about buying a flower shop, and I don't never really thought about where that money would come from either, but I just decided to do it. Honestly, I was working at my last job as a sales manager, and I started there in 2017, and then I stayed there the whole time until the pandemic hit. And then when the pandemic hit, hospitality went poo poo. So I was still working with her on the weekends. So again, I was working Monday through Friday at my whatever hotel job I had, and then every Saturday I would work at the flower shop. But then again, when the pandemic hit, everything kind of halted.
Yeah,
So
tell
at
us
that
about that.
point, yeah,
Go ahead.
of course. So I vividly remember I had just finished the week prior or 2 weeks prior. I had finished one of the biggest events that I had booked at my hotel. It was for a sorority. It went seamlessly. Everyone was happy. So I took a few days off and I went back into the office, and, we start hearing about this thing that's going around, da 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 da. And then I was meeting with the client, and he said, Melissa, I don't know when I'll see you again because our meetings are halted. So, and we had been given the okay to like halt any meetings if anyone wanted to stop. No problem. So I go back into my office, and then all the managers are called to the director's office, and we're instructed to work from home effective immediately. So I kind of pack up my desk, pack up my office, and I leave, and I don't go back. I think I did go back a few times over the summer because I needed like some files and stuff, but no one's planning events. Unfortunately for me, I was a catering sales manager, so I was planning events for as small as 2 people, as large as 400 people. My colleagues, they kind of were able to stay alive just a little bit because they handled more of the room side of hospitality. But I would call customers and be like, Melissa, we're not even allowed to host events. So my directors kind of got the gist that even though I was working from home, I wasn't booking anything. So at that point I was furloughed, and I started doing Uber Eats, and I was really sad about it because I felt like I was pretty okay with my career. I liked what I was doing. I was kind of making the steps to becoming a catering sales director, like learning how to figure out that aspect of it. And I liked my career. I loved going to work. I was one of those people who would stay. I was one of the last ones to leave, which I know is controversial because that shouldn't be a goal, but that's how much I loved work. So, yeah, I was furloughed and I started doing Uber Eats. And one night I was picking up from a sushi restaurant, and it was like a triangle. I saw a sushi restaurant, I saw a for rent sign, I saw a funeral home. And that triangle was like, Melissa, this is it. This is what you need. You're not working at a hotel right now. You're not working at the flower shop. Do your own thing. So, and I know that a lot of florists prosper when they are close to a funeral home, because funerals and flowers go hand in hand. So I called the number on the sign, and there went all of it at my first location.
Wow. Because you mentioned just a little bit ago that you're like, if I started a floral shop or like bought one, the finances weren't there. And so what did you have to do in order to provide the funds to get the shop up and running and to rent there?
Well, luckily for me, even though I was furloughed, I was making some money, and I was still doing Uber Eats. So I just scrambled. My family and friends really came together for me, and my cousin gave me a large portion of money to put down for the down payment and everything. I don't know if you could hear me. I said reconnecting. Sorry. My cousin gave me a large portion of the not the down payment, the security. And I was able to figure out the rest, and we just went from there.
Wow. So
Mm-hmm.
you got this help from family friends. You're still doing Uber Eats, and you go to this floral shop, or you're renting this space next to a funeral home,
Mm-hmm.
and you get everything up and running. So
Mm-hmm.
after about 5 to 6 months, what happened that drastically changed this dream business that you had?
Well, it started off with a really poor pick of a contractor. I signed my lease in May, and I was not able to open until June because my contractor was just not a great choice. So I opened in end of June because I was like, I need to open for Valentine's Day. Like, this is just I'm bleeding money at this point. So I opened for Valentine's Day. It's obviously my first one. It didn't go great. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I was the only florist. I didn't hire properly. Didn't have. It was just it was rough. Oh, but we learned, and I did it again for Mother's Day, and it's time it went a little bit better. So my busy season is between would be considered May and June, because if there's one thing that Long Island does, it show up for me. So I'm busy with prom, graduation, all the things. June comes, July comes. It's a little slow in July because everyone's traveling. So I vividly remember it was July 22nd, and a customer texted me and said, your store is on fire. No, the store next to you is on fire. And I'm like, I don't know anything about fires. I have I've never had one at my house. I don't know any friends. So I was just like, all right, it must have just been a little spark or something. So I say, okay, thank you. Blah, blah, blah. This was at 11 o'clock at night. So I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning. I go to work. I tell my mom, on my way out, oh, the sushi restaurant next to me had a fire. And she's like, Melissa, why didn't you go there from last night? I'm like, oh, I'm sure it's fine. It's just a little thing. So I get to the store, and I literally just I parked in the front for some reason. I usually parked in the back of the store, but I went to the front and I see all these fire trucks and I see damage trucks and I see news outlets and I walked to my door and I just collapsed because I just spent like any and everything to make this happen.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. And the coffee shop owner at the corner saw me and she just came over and she just gave me the biggest hug because her store had been impacted too, but not quite like mine. And because everyone on that block knew the struggles that I was going through with my contractor and opening in XYZ. And I couldn't even go inside. They had padlocks on the door. So it was just a really rough time.
Well, okay, so you get there, you can't even go inside.
Mhm.
So what, like, I mean, I'm sure you're thinking, okay, my shop is destroyed, like I business is over. What, I mean, really, what were the next steps for you after this specific moment of like, oh my goodness, everything's done?
And it's crazy because my landlord didn't even text me and say anything to me. He kind of he showed up and he was like, "This is crazy, right?" And I was like, "This is crazy. That's what you have to say. Like, what are you talking about? This is whatever." But I'm telling you, God was with me because an insurance agent, I don't want to say badgering, but she was being very like, you need to get insurance XYZ. So I literally had gotten business insurance, I think the end of May. And I was actually aggravated that I had to pay this monthly bill because I was like, I'll never need this. And girl, when I realized that I had business insurance, it was like I was thrilled. And unfortunately, the sushi restaurant next to me did not have any insurance. All I could think was like the God was with me because I didn't think I needed it, and I had it, and it helped out.
So because of the insurance, I was going to ask you if you had insurance. Did you like
hmm
in with the landlord? Did he say, okay, you're not going to have to pay your rent because obviously you can't be here, or did you still have to pay, or did insurance cover that? How did that work?
No, I didn't have to pay anymore. I had paid in full for June, but so I paid him a week extra, but whatever. I Insurance kind of took over from there. They were asking questions like, "What were your year over year? Like, what did you make this time last year?" And because I hadn't been open a full year, I didn't know what to say. I sent them what I had in Shopify, but it was nothing compared to what I should have sent because I was a new storefront. So the buzz was there. I was kind of doing okay. And each month I would kind of send them what my projected revenue would have been. And then they kind of compensated me. But again, there's companies that are supposed to help you with this, and I did not hire them, and I should have.
Now,
So that was it.
in this time, I would imagine it was very, very hard because you put, like you said,
hmm
you put all this money and time and effort into this business.
hmm
And so, how were you able to overcome this setback of the fire and then find the motivation to start again?
Yeah. So I had well, a few months prior to the fire, I did a round of crowdfunding. So I had some money through that I was able to kind of lean on. And I just basically lived through my insurance money until I was able to figure out what my next step was. I initially had I wanted to go back to my old store. I liked the location, I liked my neighbors. So that was the plan. But I was just driving up and down the avenue where my store is, and for a year, I was just driving up and down, like trying to figure out what I was doing. A friend of mine whose store was also on Merrick Avenue, I would work out of her basement. So I still had Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. I just utilized her store, and then I saw a space for rent in June. middle of June, and I reached out to the landlord, and again, the light bulb went off. Melissa, this is it. You can do this again. Let's try this again. And I kind of just, we went from there. I had some insurance money still, so I used that as my security. And whatever, there wasn't much repairs in here. There weren't many repairs in here that needed to be done, luckily. So I kind of just went with that, and we opened back up in September.
Now, when you were like kind of in the middle of this year where you were kind of working out of the basement of your friend's business, and you were getting this insurance money as well coming in, were you able to, like, so you were working on different floral arrangements, like you said, you still had Valentine's and Mother's Day that you were able to do. Did you notice, was business kind of, was there a growth in business, or because of some of the setbacks, was it kind of just stable, or what did that look like at that time?
It was stable. I mean, a lot of people, because obviously I didn't change the address where my store was, so I would get calls and be like, "Hey, I'm outside of your store. I'm looking for you." And unfortunately, I would tell them I could take the order over the phone and have it delivered, but a lot of people want to see what they're purchasing. And even though I would direct them to my website, they don't necessarily love that, so they would go to the next store, so which is totally fine. And a large part of all of it is we also sell gifts. People can't necessarily, yes, they could look online, but they also like to come in and grab what they need and leave. So it was kind of, it was steady.
When you experience this fire, this loss, this disappointment, and this process of starting new or kind of starting again, what fears did you have to overcome, or what are the things that you've had to tell yourself in the midst of all of this to kind of keep pushing forward when it feels like a setback happened?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just kept like a lot of people would have quit. Not going to be. A lot of people would have taken the insurance money and said, "All right, I'm out of here. I'm going to go do something else and get a job." But because my passion for flowers it's just that strong. Like, I commit myself to this craft just like anyone else. Like, I keep up with teachings and learnings, and I go to seminars and trainings, and I've never liked or loved or appreciated an industry like I do floristry. We're a little community, and it's really like I can't even explain it. But a lot, like I said, a lot of people just would have given up because curveballs were just being thrown my way left and right. And I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, because just to see something that you invested so much time and money and blood, sweat, and tears just crumble. Like, literally, like, I walked to that door and I had a wedding the following day, and I looked at like the centerpieces that were done, and they were dead now, obviously. But I just looked at and I was like, this would break someone, and it almost broke me.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, a
Yeah.
lot of people would have taken the insurance money and quit and did something else, or thought like,
Yeah.
okay, this is a sign, but no, you're taking that and you're saying, no, I'm not going to let this stop me. I'm so curious to know though, what
Yeah.
happened to the people with the wedding?
So I reached out to her. She was the nicest bride, and she completely understood. She was just like, as long as you get it done, I don't care. So this is what I mean when I say we're a little community, because a friend of mine, I needed stands. A friend of mine who has her shop in Brooklyn, she let me borrow her stands. The wholesalers that I buy my flowers from, they were able to get me the flowers in the same colors I needed. This is we like My community just came together for me. But the bride was totally fine. Everything looked good. Yeah, so that weekend I had a wedding and my friend's baby shower, and literally everything was perfect. They wouldn't have known.
Wow, that's huge. And like you said, just
Yeah.
the fact that you have this community of people like pulling together to help
Mm-hmm.
you out, to help
Yeah.
these other people out for their special moments. I think that that's really cool. Well,
Yeah.
okay, so you mentioned you finally were able to start back up and start over September of 2023. Since being open in your new location, what growth in the shop have you seen? And then what accomplishments, and specifically in you, are you most proud of after all these hardships?
Oh, yeah. So again, curveballs, like little things like, so with my new store, I really wanted to focus a lot on classes. I'm realizing that experiences are very important to people. So I try to plan like between 1 and 2 events in the store each month. And of course, this winter my heat was not working in the store all winter. So I couldn't host any events here, curveball. But we figured it out, and I was able to host my first event in the store, I think in January. So that went very well. And then as far as something that a positive, I was featured in Newsday for as a Black florist for Black History Month. And I've never been published in anything, so that was amazing.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now you were saying that you want to start having classes. What are some of the other projections, or where do you really want to see all of it take off, and what's like this growth process that you're really hoping for your store?
So, yeah, so I'm really becoming interested in business itself, just like learning different ways to like get get income, even passive income. Business is just becoming very interesting to me. So just to continually see my numbers increase, decrease, like I'm becoming like a analytics queen over here. So I'm constantly looking at the numbers, and it's just it's fun now. It's like I'm in school again because I'm taking my time and I'm growing my business. There's certain things that I kind of rushed in my last store, like getting a cooler and just doing a lot of things that didn't necessarily need to be done right away, but I'm taking my time here. You know, we're going to start having more events here. In May, we're doing quite a few Mother's Day events. And then busy season rolls out for me. Like I said, if there's one thing that my town does for me, it's show up for May and June. And that's my busy season. Between prom, graduation, communion season, I will be, from God, hopefully, very busy. But usually, from what I was looking at the numbers, usually I do pretty all right.
Well, that's good. That's exciting. Melissa, where can people, I mean, people in New York, where can they find you? And then other people, because we've got listeners from all over, where can they also see what you're doing?
Absolutely. So my business is www.oliveitboutique.com. Oh, and backstory, Olive It stands for I Love It. So Olive It. Just people always wonder, Olive IT. So that's it, oliveitboutique.com. And I'm located at 65 Merrick Avenue in the town of Merrick in Nassau on Long Island. And we ship our hard goods all over, literally all over. Take a look at our website. We have candles, we have skincare, we have Laneige, we have like pretty much anything. I really try to gear the products I enjoy buying. So I try to get as much fun and interesting products as I can.
Where do you normally, like, where have you found some of like the gift items or other products that you have in your store?
So we utilize fair quite a bit. And then we also try to purchase local, small, women-owned minority businesses as much as possible. That's a really big part of, I don't know if my mission statement, but we are try to be as environmentally friendly and support those categories as much as possible. In the summer, I'm driving far out to the Hamptons, XYZ, to the farms out east to pick up flowers because I like to support the local farms. Mother's Day is in a few weeks. There's a site of the flower community, and she sells all American grown flowers. So a large percentage of our flowers are going to be from American farms, just to keep the money in America as much as possible, and while also still supporting women-owned, small-owned minority businesses. So we have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, no, that's great that you're able to support all these other women and minority owned
Yeah.
businesses. Now, I have a separate question before we get to our final question.
Mhm.
In I guess, and then excuse my ignorance in this, but in I guess a typical or another type of floral shop, because you said you want to purchase
Mhm.
flowers from local farmers that are, American grown. Do a lot of other florists purchase outside of the United States?
Most flowers come from out of states. Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, honestly, and I do too, because in the colder months, even right now, I'm waiting for a shipment of flowers to come in. Most of them are from Colombia, Ecuador, Holland, places like that. So most of the flowers in the flower world come from out of the country. But whenever it's nice or whenever I can, I really try to purchase American grown as much as possible.
So fascinating. Just things that as a consumer you never
Mhm.
think about until you're talking
You
to someone
learn.
that is, yeah, you learn that.
Right.
Well, thank you,
Exactly.
Melissa. I do have one more question for you that this is
Hmm.
the question that I ask all of my guests. And so I would love to hear
Okay.
what you have to say regarding this. So if you could encourage one woman who feels blocked or limited to pursue a dream or goal based on either her age or a life circumstance, like in your situation of what happened, what would you tell her?
Hmm. Just do it. Just do it. God will provide, a spirit will provide, your dog will provide. Just do it. Because if we listen to all the negative thoughts in our head, or our partner, or someone who's not for our dream of what we want to do, we'll wait forever. So just do it. Like, I was very stressed and worried about money, and it came to me, thank God. And I figured it out, and I'm still figuring it out every single day. So just do it. Of course, be responsible. Let me backpedal. When I'm on panels and stuff like that, I have to always give like a little caveat. But be like, just don't get up and quit your job. Have a little savings, have like as many bills paid off as you can. But at the end of the day, just do it. Even if it's a side gig, just go ahead and do it.
And I love too, from your perspective of having all these setbacks and difficulties that there, I mean, you could have, like we already talked about, you could have easily quit and you didn't. You have this passion, you have this
Mm-hmm.
vision, you're going to do it, you're going to chase after it. And so, Melissa, I just thank you for taking your time and sharing a little part of your story, where I'm excited to just see what all of it does and the growth that happens in your business. And you're almost at one year in this new location, and you're just going to continue to
Yes.
grow and get better. So, Melissa, thank you so much for joining the More Than Your Age podcast.
Thank you so much.